All right, hello and welcome to Swing It and Ding It, an iHeartMedia podcast presented by DraftKings Sportsbook and sponsored and driven by Mall Chevrolet. We'll do a little see the line over in Europe. I don't see why not. There's something to gamble on. We'll gamble on it. But we are joined again. Lucky to have him back. Ryan Ballengee, Golf News Net, golfnewsnet.com. Make sure you follow at Golf News Net. Also, Golf News Net Radio, where you get to hear Swing It and Ding It Thursdays from 10 to 11. Want to talk a little bit about that. I know you have a couple new shows that just dropped. But, with the Ryder Cup news breaking yesterday, I mean, I think that's what the biggest conversation is, obviously, right now in the game of golf. And we knew that it was going to be. I think it was a strange year where you had someone that was so far out of the points that was needed to be on the team in some way. And everyone kind of knew that. So, first of all, welcome, Harry. Danielle, how are we doing?
Doing good.
All right.
We're doing well.
Yeah, getting ready for
How you
football
doing,
season.
I'm good. Next week. I have the big member guest at the Legacy Club. So,
Oh boy,
getting prepared
Take
for
it
that.
down.
Finally get to repay Greeny for 3 years at Green Valley's member guest. But Ryan, let's start with the Ryder Cup. What were your initial reactions? How shocked were you? Did you kind of see this coming, or what was your level of surprise?
I kind of heard over the last couple of weeks some chatter that JT was probably going to find a way on this team somehow. And so I kind of resigned myself to the fact that he was going to be part of this. So then the next question was, who gets the last slot? Is it Sam Burns? Is it Keegan Bradley? Lucas Glover find a way in there somehow? I think everything else was kind of written in the stars. Like Ricky was going to be a part of this. Colin Spieth was going to be a part of it regardless. But the reality is, like, JT's part of the Ryder Cup committee. I mean, he's kind of part of the group that decides who's going to be on the team. And you can't be like, well, hey, Justin, or, maybe we shouldn't have you on the team. And then he votes himself off. Like that wasn't going to happen.
Right.
So I'm not too surprised at the way that it went down. Scotty Scheffler's got some pull. He obviously wants to play with Sam Burns. He's got a partner built into that. What I don't know is who Brian Harman's partner is. I assume it's Wyndham Clark, I guess. But I don't really know who his built-in partner is. But it feels like everyone else has someone they're paired with. Cantlay and Schauffele makes sense. Holman, Morikawa makes sense. JT and Spieth makes sense. You can probably pair Koepka with anybody, to be honest. And then you got to figure out, and I said Burns and Scheffler earlier. So they've got natural pairs. So I guess that kind of is good. But I do feel bad for guys like Keegan Bradley and Cam Young to a degree. Keegan Bradley had a great year, really cares about this thing a whole lot. He hasn't played on it in, 10 years? And this was his real opportunity, I thought, to make a team again, and just gets left out in the name of a guy who's kind of part of the club.
Yep, yeah. That's part of the club is right. I was thinking about Brian Harman with Koepka. What do you think about that?
I thought about that too, because they're both guys with chips on their shoulder when they play. They're completely different otherwise in terms of how they play golf, but they could probably both get behind talking each other up on the first tee that they're incredulous that these two European dudes want to try to beat them, and they win every match 5 and 4. I could absolutely see that happen.
Yeah, it's funny because a lot of the talk was around Cam Young, which is a little. I mean, it's not surprising because he was 9th, right? But listen, seems like a nice enough guy, but does he seem like the ultimate Ryder Cup teammate that would like pair up with somebody? I just don't see it, right? He doesn't have the win. I saw him as the outlier from the beginning. I know there was the whole Fred Couples soundbite that was brought up yesterday, but what were your thoughts on Cam Young, Ryan? Did you think that he had a legitimate shot, or do you think there was no shot?
I think he had a legitimate claim, and I think he was pretty decent in the President's Cup. But again, like you said, didn't win. Not the best closer. He's definitely not a good putter.
No.
Frankly, most of the guys on this team are not good putters, which has me really worried. But that
need those gimmies.
Right. I mean, I guess that's your case is, do you pick the guy who hasn't won yet but has played better than Justin Thomas has in the last calendar year? Or do you pick the guy that has a very good record in these team events, has a built-in partner, has done it before? You kind of start to list the bullet points and you go, okay, I guess we'll take JT.
Yeah. And Danielle too, like a lot of the talk yesterday on social media was comparing it to the Poulter situation, right? It's like Poulter doesn't qualify on points, but you need that guy on the team. JT is, he always qualified on points, but he is that emotional guy on the team that gets people going. Do you see that comparison, Danielle? Or is it?
Well,
different
you just
people.
teed me up for what I was going to say. Zach Johnson quoted, he's like, he was born for this. You just don't leave JT at home. Like, and I'm like, okay, he's born for the Ryder Cup. But no, we tweeted we have a swing it and ding it, group text, right? And we go back and forth. And last week we were talking about it a little bit. And Moose even said, he's like, JT's making the Ryder Cup. Like, I don't not see it happening. And so when I saw it, I screenshot it and sent it to him. And I'm like, oh, JT made it. And he's like, well, yeah, I mean, how does he not? So like I said, we asked you if you thought it was a surprise. You're like, no, I don't think any of us thought it was a surprise. It's just, especially with Jordan, it's like, yeah, that's just who's going to be there.
Yeah. Plus 16, 5-2 in Ryder and President's Cups is kind of hard to overlook when you're starting to think about, he could find it at any time. I mean, he's got a month to get ready for this thing, and guys that are that good, they can find something at any moment, and all of a sudden, boom, they're back. So I thought he was going to make it.
The question though, I think we all thought he was going to make it, but it's like, it's not a surprise he should have made it, but was it fair? Like, who else should have been in his spot? Who should have been there?
Well, that's why they're captain's picks.
Should it have been exactly?
It's like you could say, I thought Keegan Bradley deserved to be a captain's pick. Okay, but I'm not the captain. It's Zach Johnson is making this call, and he's.
What do we think about Zach Johnson as the captain?
Well, I want to talk about Zach Johnson too, but the other question I had, right? If did Bryson DeChambeau and Dustin Johnson, they don't know how to play golf anymore, right? Like, just because they're over on Live. Like, if you had to bet $1 million right now, and you could have Bryson DeChambeau one-on-one against Sam Burns, Cam Young, whoever it is, who are you taking? If you have Dustin Johnson for $1 million one-on-one against the same guys, who were you throwing your money on? So, I mean, I think this was. I don't know if Zach Johnson was the right captain for this year, right? I think he's a nice guy. He's very robotic. He's awkward. He's corny, right? Yeah. But with so much going on this year and so many of the wild questions where he can't even answer 2 questions in a press conference at once, it's like, Ryan, what do you feel about the captain with all of the swirling controversy? Do you feel like he's the right guy to steer the ship for a win?
I feel like we're walking into another Jim Furyk situation of like, yes, you're a really nice guy and people really like you, but you might not be ready for all of this. And I think we very vastly overvalue what the captain means to a competition, to be honest with you.
Like
it's about the camaraderie and gel of, it's a game manager kind of thing. Like, all right, cool. That's great that, your XYZ game manager quarterback won the Super Bowl, but did they really win it, or did they have just way better talent? And it's how you manage your talent, how you get them to do what you need them to do. And the U.S. does have built-in teams. That's great. They have guys who genuinely like each other. That's cool. I think Zach Johnson's job is fairly easy, is to not mess that up if it works. And if it doesn't work, then you panic. And that's how it always happens. Like, if it works, you're a genius. If it doesn't work, you panic and stuff goes bad. And then you get blamed even though the players did all the work. But it's not like this is like a best of 7 or like, we're not playing these matches 4 or 5 different times to figure out who the best actual team is. These are all 18-hole matches randomly thrown together, and weird stuff can happen in an 18-hole match play situation. I mean, just watch the WGC match play one time in your life, and weird stuff can happen in 18 holes. So I think we put so much pressure on the captains for the team that they form. Well, the reality is the difference between like the best player and the worst player out of the 24 that are going to make it is really small. Yeah. At least out of like, all right, take Scheffler and Rahm and Rory and put them to the side even. Of the other 21 players that are on these 2 teams or will be on these 2 teams, the difference is so small in terms of talent. It's just on the margins who wins or loses.
Yeah. And honestly, like, we're talking about captains and if he's the right choice, but when you have personalities like Brooks and JT and Ricky and all these guys on there, like, yes, he's the captain, but I think there's going to be like group decision making often with such bold personalities that are on this team. Cantlay, like, I don't think it's just going to be Zach's making every decision. I think he's going to have some input from the other guys here.
Who's under more pressure, JT or Zach Johnson?
I think it's JT.
JT.
Yeah.
I mean,
the whole world's gonna be like, oh, because he now has to justify his position on the Ryder Cup, and it's not like, Zach Johnson, he's born for this. It's like, no, you were put on this team. You better show up for your country. Like, you better win.
I mean, look at the press conference, right? Like Sam Burns and Morikawa could have just gone dark and left the Zoom, right? No one was even talking to them or asking questions. I was surprised. Like a couple things jumped out at me. Ricky Fowler has the USA hat on. He's the only guy that was wearing anything USA. That just tells me how much this dude wants to be there and how pissed he was when they won at Whistling Straits and he was not on that team. To me, that comes through, and I'm happy he's on the team because
he has
of that.
Like the Olympics tattoo, like on his forearm. This guy's
the new
like
Captain America.
He's a patriot. Yeah.
But if Ricky doesn't live in Jupiter, does he make the team?
That's the thing. Like you have the friends.
I mean?
Like it's
Because
he'd probably still be like boys with, I'm sure he'd still be boys. Like they have their whole like what is it, like spring break vacation guys. It's JT, Ricky, Jordan,
But I know Keegan lives down there too, and I got the feeling that he said something. Nobody likes that. Nobody really likes to hang out with Keegan.
He was like, I tried to get closer to some of these guys for that for that reason, and I guess I'm gonna have to play my way in. That's the only way I can do it.
Yeah.
So
it's still like high school down here.
Yep.
It's
He's
clicky.
not in a club.
The other thing, Ryan,
you can't sit with us.
I didn't
Lunchbox not good enough
thing, but I was surprised Brooks wasn't more vocal about Liv and about some of the other guys in the Liv family. I mean, I took it as a sign of respect. He was happy he made the team. He's representing his country, not the time during that press conference. But I was kind of shocked that he didn't throw out a couple sound bites. Were you?
Not necessarily. I mean, he hasn't been the biggest rah-rah Liv guy of the players that have gone to Liv. I mean, I think he's been pretty clear this was about the money and where he was or where he thought he was health-wise. Now it's not about that anymore. But he still got this contract, so he's getting paid, so he's got to do this. I think that's kind of where he's at with it.
Yeah.
And that's totally fine. I think there was a case to be made for Dustin Johnson. We forget that he was the first American to go 5-0-0 in one of these guys in a long time, and I think ever actually. And so I guess we just cast that to the side because he plays Liv now.
Mm-hmm.
Bryson didn't have as easy of a case. I mean, he played very, very well this year, but if from the gel perspective, I mean, he's worse off than Keegan Bradley is.
Right.
It's not like people are, knocking down the door to play with Bryson DeChambeau. Yeah. I mean, sorry that your social skills are part of getting in the club.
Yeah.
So, the 58 he did shoot was tremendous, but also in terms of like a strokes gain perspective, wasn't that great. So, and Zach Johnson,
and that course has yielded those kind of scores before.
And this is good to tell you Bryson's personality, because he shoots at 58 and then makes 58 merch where the Bryson, the S and O and Bryson is replaced by a 58. And he's now selling this merch. That's why he's not friends with these guys or anybody else.
Like Jim Furyk shot 59 and 58. Mm-hmm. And I don't think if you asked 100 golf fans, they would even know that he did either of those things, because it's not like he walks around with a hat that says 58 and 5-hour energy on the back. Like he doesn't do that kind of thing. So I think that's kind of obnoxious. I think people find it obnoxious. So I think if you had a case for a second Liv player, it was Dustin Johnson. But for whatever reason, Zach Johnson's very evidently against it, has made it very clear he's not paying a whole lot of attention to it. And my guess is the only reason he even thought about Brooks is because the PGA of America champion is Brooks Koepka.
Right. Do you guys think, as I do, that America, the USA team, has been overvaluing the in the room kind of thing and the team concept, because they know, and they have known for decades, that Europe really takes this super seriously and they bond together. So I think Team USA is sort of going above sort of the call to try to make a team concept, rather than maybe taking the hottest players or the best putters, like you mentioned, like a Denny McCarthy or a Lucas Glover who's hot and finds the fairway every time he tees it up with a driver. And do you think that's the case?
Yeah. I mean, I think, trying to form some camaraderie of some sort. And you look, with JT, I feel like it's just a natural fit with that crew. Mm-hmm. It's, I think so, Harry. There's probably an element to it.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Yeah, I think so.
I mean, they managed to make Jamie Donaldson a hero on the Ryder Cup team 10 years ago, because they brought him in and they made him feel relevant and special, even though he was clearly not probably on the same level of the guys he was playing with. We kind of do the opposite of, hey, I'm just going to work with my buddies. And between all of us, we have to be good. And I think that's kind of the MO was, all right, if we just find pairs for everybody, who cares about the pods? Who cares about everybody getting along? As long as you get along with one person, then you're good. And I think that's a flawed logic.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
for sure.
we'll be discussing it and debating it all the way up until September 25th when they head over to Rome, and then it's all about performance at that point, right? Is Zach Johnson and Justin Thomas going to look like geniuses, or are they going to be criticized till the next Ryder Cup? We shall see. But Ryan, let's talk about Golf News Net. It's not just about social media shots of giant pigs walking on leashes. There's a lot more to this from what we've discovered. We really dug in, and there's some really good golf content. Talk about what's happening lately.
Well, we might have to do a more investigation of the pig on a leash, but Golf News Net has grown a lot in the last couple of years. GNN Radio has been wonderful in the last almost 12 months. It's been about 10 months now. It's been great to have Swinging It and Ding It as part of the network. We've added a couple of new shows recently. They'll be debuting this week and next week, depending on how it all works out with the schedule. And then we're kind of working on something in the background that I can't exactly talk about, but it's big, and I'm very excited about it. Hopefully, it'll debut in either December or January, but hopefully, it'll kind of change the way people watch golf, and I'll leave it at that. So it won't be as much about hearing or reading golf as much watching golf. So we got something coming that's I'm very, very excited about. And in the meanwhile, still got a ton of golf to care about in the next few months. We've got Solheim Cup, Ryder Cup. We've got plenty of DP World Tour great events. I'll be in Ireland. I'm leaving for Ireland tonight. We're going to go to the Irish Open next Sunday.
Nice.
To go check out Rory and the gang at the K Club. And then I'll be over at the Solheim Cup and Ryder Cup a couple weeks later. So
are the clubs coming with you?
Lot to get into the next couple weeks.
Golf clubs coming with you?
To Ireland, yes. So my wife and I are going to Solheim and Ryder Cup, and we're stopping off in Munich to do Oktoberfest for a day and a half before we go down to Rome. So no golf clubs for that. That is just liters and liters and liters of beer. And I'm
you'll be over there from now through the Ryder Cup?
No. So I'm coming back on the 8th from Ireland. Then 2 weeks later, 12 days later, we go over to Spain and do Solheim, and then Sunday afternoon of Solheim, we're going to Munich and going to go find some tent apparently, and I pray I don't have to wear lederhosen and just start pounding some beers.
Well, now will this be documented on your social media accounts, Instagram, Twitter?
Maybe not the lederhosen, but everything else will. Yeah.
Well, what were your? Go ahead, Jeff.
No, go ahead, Harry.
Well, what were your overall thoughts on the playoffs? The 3 weeks.
So
I mean, it kind of. It was kind of underwhelming a little bit for me, and I'll explain why later. But, props to Viktor Hovland. He was clearly the cream of the crop. But what were your thoughts on the 3 events?
I mean, I kind of like the playoff years where they have just one player that's like the story. And you had 2 really this time, because you had Lucas Glover pinning it together with, back-to-back wins, which I loved. That was great for him. For Viktor Hovland to kind of step out even bigger than he already has and put a flag in the ground. Hey, I'm a top 5 player in the world. Might be a top player in the world someday. Might be the best player in the world this second. I think that's really exciting. That's kind of the point of the playoffs, right? Is to kind of showcase the best players. I know we kind of wring our hands every year about the playoff format and whether it's any good and whether the FedEx Cup means anything. At the end of the day, I don't think it means anything. It just means a lot of money. But for us, the good news is
$1 million.
You get, and it's going to go up next year. And the good news is you get 3 really good events in a row in the dog days of August. We didn't used to get that. So that's nice. I appreciate that. I can live with that if the format's kind of strange. I have my own views on what the format should be, but that's totally fine. If you can get the best players together 3 times in a row in the middle of the summer or the back end of the summer, that's good for me.
Yeah, and we talked about it. The easiest bet of all last week was Xander top 5.
Yeah,
the guy's top 5,
the freest
machine.
Money.
Yep. How about he goes out on the front 9, shoots a 31, and you're like, all right, we've gave us a little bit of entertainment.
Not really.
Hovland was, he was automatic. It's funny. Like when I watch Hovland, I see a little bit of DeChambeau, like with that more robotic, like the machine at some of the events that hits the hole in one.
Yeah.
You
Oh,
never
yeah.
see that.
The
Like,
swing
that's what I
machine.
see.
Yeah.
It's so like out a little bit, and you see that with the Shambo. I mean, they highlighted a little bit about Viktor Hovland's short game and working with a new coach, and showed all of those flub shots that he's had over the years and how dialed in he was. So it's crazy, right? We talk about it all the time. You can talk about rolling the ball back and distance and all that, but what made this guy win $18 million was his sand wedge, right? Was chipping around the greens. So it just goes to show you how important that part of the game is. But Ryan, anyone else jump out? Right? Yeah, Cantlay, Fleetwood, Scheffler, Morikawa, and Burns. Right? I'm glad that Burns finished strong in that last event before getting to pick, because then it's like, listen, the guy's hot. He finished in the top 10.
Yeah, I mean, Sam Burns is so hot and cold, which that was my argument of maybe he shouldn't be on the team if he runs that hot and cold. I mean, if that happens within one round of the next kind of deal. But
and Wyndham Clark too. Wyndham Clark and Rory, obviously, I forgot to mention as the 3 and 4. But it was good to see Wyndham Clark also
Clark had a
following
great
up.
week.
Yeah,
he did.
I wanted to bring this up, guys. I thought this was pretty cool. It was actually from Shank's wife, Courtney. She put out a picture of her and Adam with his PGA Tour card. She said 6 years ago today, Adam received his PGA Tour card. And she's like, today he's playing in the final round of the Tour Championship. And I was like, wait, he was in the final round.
I know.
It took me a second. But
Yeah.
like, we're talking about, we're talking about playoffs and nobody even mentions his name. And I'm like, wow, that's wild. But just goes to show you the grind of golf. 6 years ago gets his card. And then to get to the FedEx Cup playoffs, and then is in the final round. And really nobody probably other than her was talking about him.
Yeah, no doubt.
And I love stories like Adam Schenk. I mean, he had a great last 2 months he had a great year overall, but last 2 months were really good for him. Getting into the Tour Championship is life-changing for a guy like that.
Oh my
Like,
God.
he's in all the majors next year.
All the
He's won a
elevated
boatload
events.
of money.
Yep.
I mean, he's set for life basically because of this 1 year. Really, that can change everything that you can accomplish as a golfer when you're freed up. So I hope that means good things for him, because he just seems like a guy who's really very happy in the position he's in, but wants to do more.
Did you know he grew up in a sod farm, Ryan?
I did not. And the interesting thing, so I was in French Lick a couple different times last
I
month.
mentioned it 150 times.
Well, I usually watch
Oh,
the
and the
telecast
broadcast.
on mute, to be honest
you
with
do?
you.
Okay.
But,
All right.
He's smart. He's smart.
Yeah.
but he works with a guy in like the French Lick area that I kind of know pretty well, and just kind of talking about him before he went on this run of, he might be about to do something here, and just kind of saw the game, and it happened. I mean, you just never know when someone's gonna kind of catch that streak that changes your life. It happened to Lucas Glover. It happened to Adam Schenk in a different way, but it's going to change his life.
Yeah, that is a great story, but I was just so disappointed in the 3 events in that the 3 best players in the world were really non-factors. I mean, as much as the media tries to tell you every week that Rory's, gonna win, he was kind of on the periphery. Rahm had nothing.
Rory also had that back injury too.
But he shot
he
65 on Sunday with the back injury. I don't know about that, but they were trying to build more drama in case he actually came back and actually won the damn thing. But Scheffler is out of gas, totally out of gas.
I was going to say that.
Really disappointed me.
Yeah, but you know what? It is a grind. Imagine I'll travel with B and I'm not even playing golf. I don't have that adrenaline of stepping up on that first tee every day with how many people watching me, everyone seeing my scorecard and seeing how I play. It's a grind to travel a lot. Now imagine playing this high level golf, having everybody watch you. Like, I know it's disappointing for us as fans, but most of us couldn't do this. It's a grind.
No,
and
that's never a question.
Yeah.
I get that, but I'm just saying, for you looking at playoffs as a sports fan, it was like Patrick Mahomes, the Buffalo Bills and the Philadelphia Eagles lost in the first round. That's how I'd equate it.
No, and I understand that. But what do we think about the schedule then? Like, does it need more spacing? Do we need more time? Do these guys need more time off? That's where we'll get it. We could go into a whole thing, but that's where Liv enters the chat. Like, these guys their bodies are tired. They're tired. They're like, I'm over it. And they just played back to back to back to back to back events, never sleeping in their own bed.
in 100+ degree heat index
Oh,
temperatures for
God.
most of it. I mean,
Ask
I mean,
Lucas-
Scheffler
ask
was.
Lucas
I'm looking at
about that.
Scheffler's shirt. I'm like, what is that? What is that like little pat? I'm like, oh no, that's the only dry part. It was like down by his his hip.
Yeah.
The only part of his shirt that was completely dry. I'm like,
Yeah.
whoa. And he's a guy that you don't even really see sweat much, right?
Right.
I'm
No.
like, oh my God. It looked brutal. It looked brutal. But Ryan, we know you have to pack for Dublin, right? We know you have to go online and look for the proper size lederhosen for Germany. But we saw you post about it, and we always have to bring it back to the Philly area. And we claim the Philly area all the way down to the Jersey Shore and into Delaware, as you know. The Trout National stuff that has been coming out this week, where you see Tiger Woods and Mike Trout on the golf cart driving around, like it's causing a lot of excitement in our area. What are your thoughts on Trout National?
I was kind of surprised when they announced it. I didn't even know like Mike Trout was that big of a golf guy. He was like, yeah, I'm going to buy a whole ton of land and start a golf club.
Mm-hmm.
Gotta listen to our pod. We broke this months and months ago.
Yeah.
But okay, cool. All right. It feels like with where the golf industry is now, like a new course, any new course is a big deal because they're not like just popping up like weeds. Like they're very purpose driven. They're very important to somebody. Usually it's someone who's really wealthy decided, you know what, I'm going to start a golf club.
And he loves that area.
They pop up like weeds down
He's
here.
all about Millville, Vineland. Like he is a champion for that area. I mean, yeah, to your point, Ryan, I thought he would have started like a fishing hunting preserve before a golf course. He seems like more of an outdoorsman, but I think he just wants to bring something that is his legacy to that part of New Jersey.
Yeah, I'm very excited about it. I mean, any Tiger Woods design has been pretty well received that's gotten to the finish line. And he's done some good work. So, and Bo Welling, I'm sure, has some piece of this. And I love Bo's work too. So it should be a great layout. It should be really a lot of fun. I have no idea how hard it's going to be to get in there. I'm sure pretty difficult. But same things happen down at Panther National down in Florida. And there's Tree Farm and Old Barnwell that I'm at in Aiken. I mean, there's a bunch of stuff that's opening up or just opened up that's really cool and different. And I'm glad that it's coming to the forefront.
And it's funny, too, because you also have Tiger Woods linked to the biggest story in Philadelphia golf, which is Cobbs Creek. We had Ben Dewan on a couple weeks ago talking about Tiger's involvement, not only with the short course, but also with the Education and Learning Center. So a lot of Tiger Woods talk in our area. You know, gotta get some sightings up here of him.
I used to work for Billy Casper Golf back in the day, and Cobbs Creek being a part of the Philly Parks District kind of courses that they used to manage. I mean, there was so much talk for so long that you could do something so special if you did something with Cobbs Creek. And now that it's getting there, I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, no doubt. Ryan, thank you so much. Make sure you're following at Ryan Ballengee at Golf News Net. Head to golfnewsnet.com. I'm a subscriber. You should be too. Great stuff, great insights. Helps me prepare for the show every week. We appreciate you carrying Swing It and Ding It. Congratulations on your new shows. I know the Bag Drop and the Duffers Literary Companion, right? They're the two of the ones that are dropping soon. So congratulations on those additions.
Well, thank you. And thank you guys for having me on. It's always great having a conversation with you guys, and long may it continue.
Enjoy your travels, man. Enjoy your travels. We'll be checking in on you out there and see how things are going. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, guys.
All right, guys, let's take a quick break and we will be right back. All right, welcome back to Swing It and Ding It. Great to have Ryan back on the show. He might be in the lead now for the most recurring, right? I think so. It's a couple guys that are in the lead, so we'll have to check that out. Maybe send some merch their way. You know what I'm saying?
Jonathan Coachman and Ryan Ballengee, I think, are right up at the top.
Yeah, Jason Sobel, been on a couple times, right? So
yeah,
there's a couple guys. I don't want to leave anybody out. But we touched a little bit on Viktor Hovland, but the guy, the kid, if you want to call him kid, is on fire. $18 million doesn't seem like the kind of person that even cares about that part of this.
No,
and
well, he doesn't.
Yeah, no. I mean, just
they asked him about
2 weeks in a row. I mean, the guy just performs, really does.
I know Harry has a ton on this, and I don't, so I'm going to quick jump in. I need to say two little things. Like you said, he doesn't care about it. When they were like, "What are you going to buy?" and he's like, "Honestly, there's nothing I need to buy." He's like, "I really like what most golfers want." He's like, "I just want time with my friends and family."
Mm-hmm.
But I wanted to just highlight, because Harry was saying during the broadcast how they say, oh, he grew up in the sod farm. Not Viktor, but how we hear the commentary nonstop. I just wanted to point out how much Viktor and I have in common. He has his black belt in Taekwondo. I have my black belt. I have a second degree though, so I could probably beat him up. Yeah. But he made $21.6 million in 8 days. That's where the differences stop.
Yeah.
That's it.
All the
We have
similarities end
we have
there.
like one thing in common.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't know that about him. I didn't know about the
Yeah, I didn't
martial
know. I
arts.
didn't either. I know he
Yeah.
likes Chipotle now. I mean, that was his
But
meal
his favorite
after
food
winning.
is Indian food.
Is
All
that
these-
right?
All
Okay.
these important
How many
facts that I
Indian
know.
food restaurants are in Stillwater, Oklahoma?
Yeah.
Can't be many.
I mean, seriously.
I don't think
Cannot.
there's even any near me. Like I'd have to drive like 35 minutes for Indian food.
There's a lot of those around where Moose and I live. But yeah, in Stillwater, Oklahoma, still where he went to college. I saw somebody commenting that he's building a big house, some massive place in Edmond, Oklahoma, which is not that far away. And Austin Eckroat, our buddy, lives in Edmond. So, probably they still hang out because they're former college teammates. But I took a look at him. He's now 4th in the official world golf rankings. That gives Team Europe 3 of the top 4 players in the world at the top of that. And I just bet Europe this morning at plus 140. I'm trying to mush them, but I actually think that they might find a way to win this thing. He's got 6 wins now. 2 of them are in the playoffs and also the Memorial. And he's made 88 of 98 cuts. Whew. 98 events, 88 cuts made.
That's
Holy
wild.
moly.
And I compared
That's
that
a
with another
wild
guy
stat.
that doesn't have a major yet, Patrick Cantlay. 8 wins, 4 are in the playoffs, and he's won the Memorial twice. So they're very, very similar. And Patrick's made 137 of 162 cuts.
Wow.
So these guys are cut machines.
And the
Consistent.
difference is probably right there between Patrick Cantlay and Viktor. This is hilarious. I'm just looking at the PGA Tour Instagram, but Viktor's favorite type of music, what would you guys guess?
Heavy metal.
Electronic.
Metalcore.
Okay, yeah.
I would never think so.
Yeah, he seems like a Metallica plus guy.
Really? I would
Yeah.
never guess that. I mean, the guy he always looks like he might have smoked or eaten something.
Yeah,
He's just always like,
no doubt. But who
I
do
thought
you
he'd be
think?
more like Bob Marley or something.
Well, he likes playing in the tropics in the Caribbean. He's
True.
got a couple wins.
Oh,
But who do you think wins the major first, Cantlay or Hovland?
I want it to be Hovland.
I think it will be.
Yeah, I think it will be too.
Yeah.
I think he's on that trajectory. I think Cantlay had his shot last year when he was on fire,
Right.
and didn't get it done.
I just
not
think
to say
Viktor's
that he
more
won't be back.
enjoyable to watch, more of a personality, more fun.
Yeah.
He's always like, he's candid, he's smiling. It's like an easy guy to root for.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Cantlay looks like he has no desire to be there,
Yeah.
wherever he is.
Like I feel like
Wherever
if I,
he is or
tweeted at him,
whatever
he'd
he's
be,
doing.
like angry or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
I did like, not to keep going back to the Ryder Cup, but the biggest soundbite from the press conference when they won was Jordan Spieth, because people started to get a little like, oh, this squad is unbeatable, and he was like, not so fast. It's different over there, right?
Yeah.
And this really isn't as special until we win there. So I was glad that they brought that back up, because I think for guys like Xander, Homa, some of those guys are like, oh, we just come over here, we're just going to go over there and kick their butt. It's like, it's a little bit different when you're over there. I mean,
Harry,
I
do
think
you
it's a
have the
little
stats
bit.
on that?
I think it's going to be different in Italy compared
records?
to like being in England or something like that, but it's still going to be interesting.
I don't have the records for
I always lean to you on that. Sorry, I'm
for the
always like, Harry
European
knows.
guys. But I'm, looking at it, Rory, Rahm, and Hovland at the top. That's, they're very top. They're better than Team USA at the top. It's where the depth from when you get from like 8, 9 through 12, there's going to be a bunch of rookies on Team Europe that, are primarily European tour guys, where they're not playing against, the PGA Tour competition week in and week out. And that's where I think, Team USA can really gain up. But when you used to look at the first 3, and then you go Matt Fitzpatrick, Tyrrell Hatton, Tommy Fleetwood.
Yeah.
I mean, think about that. A lot of those guys can putt. I mean, Team USA, like Ryan said, that's not their greatest forte, is putting. You got to hope that Jordan Spieth goes on a run and starts making everything and starts chipping things in, from all over the place like he does every now and then.
And the tournament this weekend, the DP World Tour Omega European Masters, a lot of implications. This is the last chance for some of these guys, right? And people are in the field: Fitzpatrick, Lowry, Aberg, Robert McIntyre, the Hogarths, who are making a run, making a case. And Luke Donald is going to be looking to see who is playing right at the right time to see who he's going to add. Do you guys think any of the live players would be added to that team?
I think the European team is already on record as saying they're not interested in live players.
And Rory's obviously been very
I didn't know if that was
vocal
going to
in
change
this.
with the new, quote unquote agreement. But I
Yeah, I
haven't
don't
heard
know.
anything about those guys potentially, being a part of it.
We have 6 days, but let's go back real quick to the
Monday.
captain's
They
pick.
picks on Monday, captains, Luke Donald.
Okay. Yeah, but we were talking about Zach Johnson. Luke Donald, I was actually I was filming with him for something when he had found out the day before that he was the captain, that he got chosen. It was wild. He, from that day, was like, I need to start prepping, scouting, just everything. It was wild to see. This was was it a year and a half ago when he found out? Yeah. Wild. And he from that moment, just looking at Luke and Zach and the difference between the personalities and I think it's very different. I think it's going to be two very differently ran teams with those captains.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So the segment that we rolled out last week, Spilling the Tea with D, very well received. All right, you have to find out what's going on in the world. So Danielle, talk to us. What's going on out there?
Guys, I have to take it back to when I first started with you guys, which is wild. I feel like I just started a couple months ago, and
when we talked you into joining us.
Twisted my arm, and it's been over a year now. But I used to give my Corn Ferry updates all the time, so I want to take it back to Corn Ferry because we're at that time, right? So we're done with the PGA Tour playoffs. Yep. Exactly, we're not done. So, but Corn Ferry Tour, the year of 59. So Mac Meisner, David Coker, and Michael Fiegel have all shot 59 on the Corn Ferry Tour this season. So there are now 10 total sub 60 scores in Corn Ferry Tour history. And if you watch SportsCenter, it's always great when we see some golf love on SportsCenter, especially when it's coming from the Corn Ferry Tour. So Coker was featured on SportsCenter for his 59. So yeah, I mean, that's pretty incredible. 59. Yeah. What do you guys think about that? What is your percentage of the possibility of any of us?
I mean, that's like the 11th hole for me.
0.
I was going to say, I shoot 59 on the front.
Yeah, I'm about on the 11th hole. What do you think there, Moose?
If 11, I played every day for the next 3 years, I'm not even in a couple dozen of that.
Yeah. I mean, I've shot 59. It's just been, I still have 6 holes to go.
It's humbling. I actually bet, one of Brandon's friends was like, hey, I bet you $1 million. He's like, you have to at least give me something back. Now he's like, I bet you $1 million you can't break par in 3 years. I was like, game on. I can definitely break par. And he's like, I've never broken par, and this guy's been playing his whole life. And I was like, well, because you're just not an athlete. That wasn't well received by him, but I think sometimes we think shooting par or even under par, but at 59, that's just wild. But
I had a goal to break 80 this year,
Mm-hmm.
and I've broken 90 once or twice, maybe. I had to reset my goals and restart over. I don't know. I'm like the old John Candy, you're going the wrong way. I'm going the wrong way. And, the guys over at the club are trying to help me out between Steve and John DeMarco, and I'll get there. I just need to play more in practice. But yeah.
Is that a planes, trains, and automobiles reference? That was nice.
Thank you.
That was real smooth. But Brandon always tells me when I'm playing and I get frustrated over a shot, he goes, you have no right to be mad because you don't practice. And I'm like, okay. It's more of a
I meant to save it on Twitter. Someone put out the stats of scratch golfers and percentage of greens they hit, percentage of fairways they hit, and it would blow your mind. These are scratch golfers. I think it was 50% for some of them. And here we are, 13s, 14s, 15s that get pissed off when we don't hit a green. It's like, what? What are you doing out here?
Right. We have no right. But internally, we still need to vent. We're human.
Yeah.
But still on the topic of Corn Ferry Tour. So we talking about Lucas Glover back to back. Our guy Chan Kim, we need to get him on the pod. Back to back, he climbs to number 2. He had an impressive bogey-free 72 holes, not a single bogey in 72 holes. Also something the three of us will probably never do. Bogey-free 72 holes, becoming the first player since the Corn Ferry Tour's establishment in 1990 to win an event without making a single bogey.
There's talent down there for sure.
There really is.
These guys are scoring down there.
Yep. I couldn't go bogey-free for 72 holes in mini golf.
I might go bogey free, but it'd be all doubles and triples. Right? I'd have no problem doing that.
Yeah.
I can miss some of those short ones to make sure I do that. That's
Oh,
no
that's
problem.
incredible. And guys, I'm keeping all my tea with D on the Corn Ferry Tour this week. The last thing we're going to talk about is just a Corn Ferry Top 30 update. The guys who already have their PGA Tour cards locked up for next year, there's only 7 of them.
Oh, wow.
Ben Coles, Chan Kim, who we just talked about, Rico Hoy, Ben Silverman, Alejandro Tosi, Pearson Cootie, and then, I mean, it's just a long name, but I'll take a breath here. Adrian Dumont de Chassart. And I'm sorry if I'm butchering that. And then some other notables who are currently on the top 30. These guys don't have their card locked up yet. Max Gracerman, Tom Whitney, Parker Cootie, Ralph Campos, and Grayson Murray. So
wow.
that'll be fun to see how
That's
this
Moose's
plays out.
guy, Grayson Murray.
Grayson, yes.
Well, I have to like him again now because Kip's on the bag if he is still. So
yeah, so that's the end of my tea with D, but we'll be keeping an eye out on the Corn Ferry Tour as those playoffs come to an end, see which guys we'll be seeing on the big show next year or next season. Actually, when we say that, it's like what, in 4 weeks?
Yeah, not even, I think. Fortinet starts.
Fortinet's 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Fortinet's the fall, the FedEx fall starts in 2 weeks for the Fortinet.
Yeah.
Tremendous.
Crazy.
Harry, we'll talk about Mall Chevy in a second, right?
Yeah.
Because we love our friends over there at Mall Chevy. Talked to those guys this week, actually. But, the other, we talked about it, right? The DP World Tour, this is a big week for them. The Omega European Masters, a lot of implications for guys that could still get in. But Harry, you talked about it. We talked about DraftKings and seeing a line. You already hopped on that. Would you get it plus 140 or 135?
I got it 140 yesterday. Actually,
down to 135 today.
It is because it was 150, I think, at the time of the release of the captain's picks for the U.S., and it immediately went to 140. So a lot of people jumped on it.
Wow. Love it. I love a good line move.
A little, steam.
Yeah. But Harry, talk to us about Mall Chevy, and then we'll get into kind of see the line and talk about this upcoming weekend.
Well, they've been doing it for 8 years in a row now. Mall Chevrolet, they are South Jersey's #1 Chevy dealer. Now, it could be because they treat their customers right. You heard the story from Greeny last week. I mean, that happens each and every day at Mall Chevrolet. That's why they were voted top 100 dealer in the country for customer satisfaction. But we still think it's got something to do with that motto. We sell Chevys for less. Find your perfect drive at Mall Chevrolet. Visit Mall Chevrolet on Haddonfield Road in Cherry Hill, right across from the Cherry Hill Mall, or online at mallchevy.com.
Thank you, Harry Mays. So maybe Luke Donald will be on a Mall Chevy with a set of binoculars driving around looking at scouting this weekend, because there's some final spots that he has to make a decision on by Monday. But Harry, I looked at, there's some social media pictures going around of this golf course in Switzerland, in the Swiss Alps, with views of Matterhorn. It looks crazy, unbelievable. Now, it looked windy, but man, what a place to go play.
Yeah, I didn't get to see much of that yet, but I will be watching, early in the morning, because I want to see what you're talking about. It sounds like, one of those golf courses built on the side of a mountain. Yeah. It's sort of like where they play the Evian tournament for the women, right on Lake Geneva there, but the whole golf course is on the side of a mountain. So that's crazy.
Should be interesting. And we will be seeing the line with DraftKings, because from tee to green, the best place to go to get in on all the action happening on DraftKings, on the links, is on DraftKings Sportsbook. This week and every week, new customers will receive an odds boost to add plus 1,000 to any pre-tournament wager up to $10 on any golfer to win. They'll be featuring parlays and odds boosts all tournament long. Check DraftKings Sportsbook app every day. For me, there's a couple guys that stand out. We'll get into this a little bit more in depth, but I'm going the other Fitzpatrick, Alex Fitzpatrick.
Playing well.
Second 2 weeks ago. I like that number at plus 5,000. And I'm actually going with the Hogard with the better odds, Rasmus. Plus 4,000, where Nikolai is plus 1,800. These guys are fighting. So take a look, see who you like. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use code DING, D-I-N-G, and boost your odds during this weekend's tournament on DraftKings Sportsbook. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. In Massachusetts, call 1-800-327-5050 or visit gamblinghelplinema.org. In New York, call 877-HOPE-NY. In Kansas, call 800-522-4700. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino Resort, Kansas. 21 plus in most eligible states, but age varies by jurisdiction. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details and state-specific responsible gambling resources. Harry Mays, you got any action on this? This week?
I'll take some action here. I'll go with Ludwig Aberg in a top 10 at plus 225 on DK. And then I'll go back down to a guy who I think is on the team, but may, he needs to play well. Viktor Perez, plus 360 in a top 10.
Beautiful. Matthew Fitzpatrick has won here twice, right?
Mhm.
I think it was 18 or 19 or 17, 18. I forget what it was. He's got the shortest number out there at plus 850, where his brother has a little bit more value. I talked about Rasmus, but Nikolai Hogarth too. He's really looking for that Ryder Cup bid. He's got a T3, a T23, a T3, T23, T6. He was a T14 in the Wyndham and a top 25 at the Open. So this guy could play, and I know he wants to be on that team. So very curious to see what all unfolds, and if Luke Donald will be as scrutinized and criticized as Zach Johnson has been.
Wait, I have to
Strzok on the team. He'll be fine.
Yeah.
I do have to ask this. We completely missed this. Didn't even talk about it. The Walker Cup is at the old course at St. Andrews, September 2nd and 3rd. Can you guys put money on that? Is that, or it's amateur? Like, is that not?
I don't see anything on here because I'm going to be watching it. There's no question about it. But yeah, there's no stuff out there for the Corn Ferry either on DraftKings.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But Harry, your guy, Gordon Sargent is on the Walker Cup. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Looking forward to that. A lot going on. A lot happening over on the other side of the pond over the next couple of weeks. And, we'll be keeping our eye on I've been just waiting for more sound bites. Keegan gave us a good one today. I'm waiting to hear Bryson sound off. DJ won't say a word, but curious to see what else.
I want to hear what Phil Mickelson will say. If, about, let's just say Koepka goes off and is the best player in the field for the United States. He's going to go off. Or maybe if they lose, well, you should have taken DJ. There's going to be, he's not going to go quietly into the night. But we got to congratulate a couple of people too this week. The fantasy contest was won by Brian Lydon, one of my buddies, a member over at the 1912 Club, and P. Laro came in second. I was in sixth, but it was
I was DFL.
Pretty good battle. You were DFL?
I think
I was
so.
like 16.
If not, I was like, if I wasn't 23, I was like 20th or something.
Yeah. And the one and done pool, of course, came to a close. And B. Roach, who was in the lead for most of the year, I don't know if it was a wire to wire, but it was pretty close. He ended up taking first place. Jimmy Crompton, as known as Sizzle, was in second place. A buddy of mine I'm going to be playing with on Saturday at Indian Valley. KJ Squared took third. Michael Seeger, KM Siegs in fourth, and Doug Tinder in fifth. And all those guys, have received their loot.
Great job running that. I know it's not easy to herd that all the time.
I know.
Nice work out of you.
I just checked this. Harry was 6th. Moose, you were 16th. I was 18th. So
18th. Okay, you were not 23rd. DFL. Okay, yeah, not DFL.
But I looked at it like I don't know, after like 9 holes, and I was like, this is a lot. We're done.
Well, I blame Emiliano. I took Grillo, and he stunk from start to finish. He never shot under par on any of the 4 days. That's what killed me.
Oh man. All right. Well, we'll be back next week. By the time we are back, both teams will be rounded out for the Ryder Cup. The European team will be picked, and we can get into some of the matchups and some of our thoughts about who's going to do what and where. So looking forward to that. And then that leads into my big member guest at the Legacy Club.
Oh boy.
Can't wait to see what they're putting out for that. I mean, they do it right there. So really looking forward to that one. Greeny and I have to represent. Now, here's the thing. Thank you.
Yeah.
I got some Swing It and Ding It shirts, right? I sent a picture to you guys. They should be here by Thursday. I'll ship them out to you. So I got one for Greeny and I. But I said we have to play Friday. If we play well Friday, then we can wear the shirts on Saturday. If we stink on Friday, we can't wear matching shirts.
Yeah.
Right. You can't be like in DFL and just roll in with matching Swing It and Ding It shirts. It just doesn't represent the brand properly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
It's all about the brand.
It is.
Now, are those Travis Matthew?
They are. And I'm
nice.
usually like not huge on Travis Matthew because it's not performance material, but these are. They finally started making because even when Rahm first started wearing it, he was sweating like crazy because they were like cotton. But they're Travis Matthew polyester performance shirts from our friends over at Rush Order Tees. So
nice.
Yeah, looking forward to getting those, and we'll get them out to you guys.
Maybe hold mine because I leave on Thursday of next week and I'm not home for the month. So I'll be up there more than I'm down here.
Yeah, maybe I'll give it to you in person. We still have to figure out if
maybe we'll get our first group shot together. Maybe.
Amazing.
One day.
All right, everybody. We'll be back next week. Thanks for listening. Thanks again to Ryan Ballengee. Make sure you're checking out Golf News Net. Great spot to get all your golf news and information. See you next week.